The Boston Celtics survived the play-in game to take the 7th seed, and while the highlights from Tatum's 50-piece are impressive, it certainly didn't start out that way for him, and the questionable decisions by both Wizards players and coaches made for a head-scratching night that makes you wonder whether either of these teams were truly motivated to win this game and a matchup with the dominating Brooklyn Nets. We'll get to some of the highlights from Tatum in a minute, but it's worth noting that he started out the game in a decidedly ugly fashion. Hitting only 6 of his first 17 shots, Tatum struggled mightily as his running mate Jaylen Brown sat on the bench with an injured wrist. He doesn't get a clean pickup off the dribble, and the rhythm is off with this look from 3. We've shown before how Tatum tends to drive with his eyes down, and that kept happening last night as he doesn't find the rim with his eyes until the split second before he's releasing the shot. Nor does he see the wide open Fournier in the corner, which would have been the better shot. On this drive, his eyes are down as he drives baseline, where 3 players converge on him and he forces up the Euro floater instead of hitting wide open teammates for easier shots. Washington fans certainly have reason to be upset with a couple of fouls they called on Rui Hachimura, who Scott Brooks felt was the only guy Tatum's size that they had to guard him. This foul was his second, and playing it safe, Brooks benches him and they're forced to put Bradley Beal on him, giving up at least 5 inches, which meant Tatum could just shoot right over his hometown buddy with ease. Then it became comical when both Robin Lopez and Rui run away from him off the pick and roll, giving Tatum an open look to extend the lead. They did this a little later too, indicative of a lack of focus and game planning to stop Tatum when he got going later on, but they dodged a bullet here. It wasn't like Beal had 0 success guarding Tatum despite the size difference, as he pursues the ball around the screen and then cleanly strips it, knowing that Tatum likes to lift the ball up and away from his body. But once Tatum got going in the third, it was directly because of plays like this, where Beal had absolutely no chance. The setup is a pin down for Tatum to cut up to the top, but Tatum shucks Beal, goes back door, and Smart hits him with a nice lob for an easy finish. And this Kobe ISO in the pinch post left Brad on an island that he couldn't hope to contend with, as a simple 2-dribble middle drive gets him a step of separation for a literal free throw line jumper right over the contest. This one was maddening, as Tatum had clearly heated up by now, hitting 4 of his last 6 shots, and nobody comes over to double team. Look at the awful spacing by the Celtics. They should have gotten it out of his hands the second the back down happened. Gafford does come over, but this is more like a shadow than a hyper-aggressive double, and Tatum calmly turns away from him and shoots the 12-foot Dirk leg with ease. What didn't make sense to me was why Scott Brooks thought he had to go to such shorties to guard Tatum when they had someone his size who has some athleticism in Davis Bertans. And if you're looking for evidence that he was up for the task, how about this possession? He initially forces him down to the baseline in Tatum's weaker hand, then cuts him off, stays in front, and this contest from someone 6'10" clearly bothers Tatum. But Bertans never really got a shot at guarding him after this. Can you hear me shaking my head? And once Tatum realized he wasn't going to have to contend with anyone his size guarding him, he did what he usually does, gets red hot for a stretch. This was a nice hammer play out of halftime, where they run the step-up screen on the right side, but the special sauce is the Thompson flare screen to the weak side corner. The Wizards actually handled it okay in order to stop the open corner 3, but the closeout was bad, and Neto can't do anything but foul him for an and one on the off-foot banker. If your pick-and-roll defense isn't razor sharp at this point in this season, then what are you doing here? I know Kemba was having a good game scoring at this point, but it didn't justify both players doubling him off a Tatum ball screen. This was probably supposed to be a switch, but even if Ish had gotten the memo and stuck to Tatum better, I doubt he could have done anything to affect this shot. After this Beal miss and attempt at the rebound, he doesn't hustle back, and I get it. He's got a hammy problem and it hurts to move. But then, why would they have put him on Tatum in the first place? As a result, nobody is guarding Tatum, nice skip by Smart to find him, and it's an open look that begins the blowout. The level of skill displayed last night by both Jayson Tatum and Bradley Beal was off the charts, and it's due to all the hard work they both do with their trainer, Drew Hanlon. If you know someone who isn't 6'8" and blessed with supreme athletic ability but wants to play college basketball, there is no better place to send them to than Point Guard College. Thousands of coaches, including top NBA and NCAA coaches, send their own kids to a 5-day, 4-night Point Guard College camp each year to discover how to think the game, lead their team, and run the show. In addition to the 10,000 players from 7th to 12th grade in college who attend one of PGC's 120 camps nationwide, over 1,500 coaches attend PGC each summer too to develop their basketball IQ. Whether you're a player or a coach, just go to pgcbasketball.com or click on the link in the description below to find a camp near you and use discount code BBALL to save $100 off the camp fee. That's pgcbasketball.com. The Wizards hung in there by the end of the third, but how is it possible that the shot clock was under 7 seconds and no one went to double Tatum to support Ish Smith, who's giving up at least 8 inches? Look at the weak side. It's Aaron Nesmith and Luke Cornett. Leave one of them and double Tatum, who isn't a great passer anyway. Instead, Tatum hits a crazy shot, huge degree of difficulty, but made possible by the simple fact that Ish is only 6 feet tall wearing lifts. This wasn't even a crazy concept for the Wizards. Look what happened in the first quarter at the end of the shot clock. Russ goes over to double Tatum, who has no time to do anything other than burp up this brick. How could they have not said to themselves, yeah, we should do that again a bunch of times? But that brings us to Russell Westbrook and his problematic game. Beal didn't play amazing, but he's hurt. As far as we know, Russ is healthy and the same guy that had willed this team into the playoffs in the first place. Yet, he seemed uninterested at times and up to the same old issues I've been pointing out for years at other times. Early in the game, with Rui and Len doing a nice job to bottle up Tatum in the lane and the shot clock below 5, Russ does a terrible closeout and it lets Kemba get right into the key for the nice sidestep layup. Offensively, he kept torpedoing the Wizards with bad decisions and lack of finishing ability. On the season, he took over 4 threes a game and shot below 32%. He shouldn't be taking any threes off the dribble and certainly none with more than 8 seconds in the shot clock, and they'd better be wide open. And yet, as they were making their way back in the game thanks to Ish Smith, he just jacks up this mildly contested shot and they come away empty. At this point in the game, Russ was 2 for 7 and 3 turnovers, so I'm not sure what led him to believe that posting up a good defender who's much longer than him was a good idea, especially with 15 seconds on the shot clock. Jayson Tatum doesn't have to jump much to not only easily block the attempt, but to corral the ball back for a pseudo turnover. The nightmare continued as the Celtics opened the second half on a massive 19-2 run. Watch how Smart defends this, daring Russ to shoot it, and he obliges with a hand in his face while shooting off the dribble for another brick. The game was rapidly getting out of hand, down 14 halfway through the third when Russ finally took the one type of three he should be taking, catch and shoot wide open. But he can't hit that one either. The big bright spot for the Wizards was Ish Smith, who sparked them for a big run in the middle of the second, as the Celtics didn't seem prepared for his speed off the dribble and early aggression to take it to the hole. Russ didn't help with that bad three-point attempt I pointed out, and then the next time down, just plowing right into the waiting Shemi Ojale for an easy charge call and a turnover. But they got the mythical Robin Lopez ISO post-up jump hook, and that's being nice to call it that. It's more like a sideways catapult, but he hits it. Russ finally got under control and properly read the defense as his back down lured help one pass away off of Ish, who is a decent three-point shooter and knocks down the wide open shot to cut it to 1. This was interesting defense as it almost looked like a zone, but it was just Smart ignoring Ish to jump over to Beal on the solid, albeit illegal, Lopez screen, but Beal gets going and hits the tough off-foot floater over 2 defenders with touch. If you were wondering who the Wizards should have been doubling off of, I think it's Smart. The kind of guy who fumbles his dribble and then throws crazy cross-court bounce passes into tight corners where Tatum had very few options. He's the guy shooting 33% on his threes, but still took a whopping 6 a game. Leave him open all game long and take your chances instead of letting Tatum do this to you for 50 points. And Smart tries to be too aggressive on this possession, spraining his ankle unnecessarily and leading to Beal getting a free run to the rim as Alex Len pulls on Thompson's arm so he can't help. But it was all too little too late, as the Wizards allowed Tatum to isolate in the left wing and get right to the hoop to extend the precarious lead to 12. And with a perfect chance to blast him with two athletic bigs and force anyone else to hurt you, he gets to his patented step back to the left, and Bertans gets the hand up, but it's too late, and the Celtics win while Russ left the court early in a bad look that would seem to imply a lack of support for his teammates. But maybe Russ was onto something. Why fight with every ounce of your being to get served up to the Brooklyn Nets? That said, getting the 8th spot means getting beaten pretty soundly by the Sixers, but at least he wouldn't have to face the prospect of getting beaten by his former teammate. Hopefully the other play-in games are played better overall, because this one was an uneven affair, with a lot of highs but plenty of lows. And for this experiment to work, we need better execution from everyone.